Hello and welcome once again to Talking Pictures Podcast. I'm your host David and joined with me as always my co-host Brian. Brian, how are you today?
That wasn't evil, David. That was just fine.
Before we get things going today, just want to remind everyone that if you're not subscribed to us on your podcasting app of choice, make sure to do so. Make sure to follow us on all of our social medias. We're available on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook, Twitter, everywhere that we could possibly be. We are on Letterboxd as well. If you're stuck looking for us, we're just in the description of this episode, so make sure to check down below and find us there. Brian, before we kick into full gear here now, you're going to go and do a trailer of the week for us?
Yes, I am, David. So, HBO Max is releasing Salem's Lot in October, and it's going to be streaming. And this is 2 years in the waiting. And I'm not saying this is another Borderlands. I'm just saying I've been made aware of this movie, and I've been even more so being made aware that it's been in the shelf ever since. And it's a bit strange because the likes of Stephen King himself, who is the author of the IP, has said, I don't know what they're doing leaving it on the shelf. This movie is great, because he says he's seen it. And so here it comes the trailer, and the trailer looks actually really good. Some vibes of tone and style and colour and atmosphere in the trailer reminds you of what they did with the It movies and some other properties. It just stood out a little bit more for some reason. I don't know if it was the frame rate, but it stood out and it looked nice, and maybe it's shit and maybe that's why it's going straight to HBO Max. Don't know where we're going to see it in good old Emerald of Isle, but just want to, at least now it's not on the chopping board like Batgirl.
Yeah, but speaking of spookiness, well, I wouldn't even say this is spookiness. I don't know where I was going with that segue. We're here today to talk about Speak No Evil, which is the new film starring James McAvoy and Mackenzie Davis, directed by... Jesus, I couldn't tell you. If I'd done any research beforehand, I would be able to tell you.
But you're not going to mention Scoot McNairy?
I wasn't going to mention Scoot McNairy. Who's Scoot McNairy? Who's he play?
Scoot McNairy.
He plays her husband, Ben, is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Scoot McNairy. What a strange name. Directed by James Watkins. Scoot McNairy. I'm going to look him up now. He's actually in a lot of stuff. Scoot McNairy. Well, I've never noticed him before, but he's in loads of stuff I've seen. He's in Gone Girl, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, A Quiet Place 2, 12 Years a Slave, Argo, Blonde, Killing Them Softly, Batman vs Superman, Herbie Fully Loaded. What?
You haven't mentioned the one thing that I think propelled him into what I recognised him in.
Frank? No, come on.
Narcos Mexico.
Oh, well, I'm looking at his letterbox. That's why it's not coming up. That's fair enough.
Oh, letterbox is dumb. Needs to start including TV shows.
I remember, I don't know about you, I remember when this first trailer came out. Now, I know that there's been a lot of discourse online about the trailer for this film because it's apparently played in front of nearly every film that everyone has seen over the last year or last 6 months that it's come out. I remember seeing the first trailer come out for this, and I remember saying to myself, I hope I never see that trailer again because I want to forget everything I just saw before the film comes out. You know, it genuinely looked like a lot of fun, and I was excited for it. It looked like a proper thriller. I was excited. And luckily, I can say I have only seen that trailer once, and I haven't seen it again. I've seen, the potential for a trailer to start, and I'd close my eyes, or just, the YouTube pre-rolls or anything like that would start. But I luckily avoided the trailer multiple times.
Samesies. Yeah, samesies. I was able to avoid it after watching it once, because of course I wanted to check out the movie when the trailer released, because I was anticipating it. I heard about it. I had it on my letterbox list waiting for it to be released, and then if I thought it looked good, I would throw it on my watch list, So when it comes to these type of near single location based horrors, you know that there's an awful lot of footage that could be in the trailer that would be scattered throughout the entire run of the movie. Therefore, you would be informed of what visuals would come. So if you know if a character is hiding in a wardrobe and he's hiding from a person, well then you know that scene is to come, and you know if that person may or may not find them or not. And then if there's another setting where an awkward scenario is being done, making everyone feel anxious and unsocial, you know, this is the scene where before the final explosion of the third act happens. So you know when, for example, the Nah, Joe, when that whole Cotton Eye Joe song
Yeah.
comes up, you know,
Yeah.
when Joe, when that comes on, well then you know that's
What the
going.
fuck are you saying? Do you know the words to Cotton Eye Joe? Clearly not. If it hadn't been for Cotton Eye Joe, I'd be married a long time ago. Don't know where you're going with this. It's if it hadn't been for Cotton Eye Joe, I'd be married a long time ago. Okay.
David, who the hell knows the lyrics to
I do.
any songs?
I do.
You
And
do?
I specifically know the lyrics to Cotton Eye Joe. All right. I'm not having this slander of Cotton Eye Joe on this podcast.
I was just trying to say that I knew that when that scene was going to happen, I knew what James McAvoy was going to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I didn't watch the second trailer that came out, which had a thumbnail of James McAvoy losing his raw rage facial shit with a scar, a fresh wound on his face, and okay, he's 100% the villain in this thing. There's no miscommunication or misunderstanding or setting you up for a false villain when realistically, you know, that's why I didn't watch the second trailer. So, and you know, James McAvoy is on a roll, all right?
Yeah.
You know, he's done some transition to whatever list of projects he's done to horror. It all started with him in Split, and then by extension Glass. And yes, don't correct me, David, that Split and Glass is not horror. Okay, yes, I know, but
it's scary. It's a performance of the scary monster.
Lends itself to that type of genre. And then he furthered that by being casted as one of the adults in It, Chapter 2. And so here he is again, another horror-based type of film. And he's the one to fear. And I'm not going to lie, I did think Wolverine. I did think he could play Wolverine in this movie.
Yeah.
I don't want that, but I'm just saying, the guy has muscles on his muscles and his calves. I'm just looking at the likes of Scoot McNairy, Scootin', and James McAvoy, and wow, that man does not miss leg day.
No, definitely not. No, there's a definite, significant difference between him and Ben, the other main character, the other male lead.
James McAvoy plays Paddy.
James McAvoy plays Paddy, and Scoot McNairy plays Ben, and they're obviously both the male figures, and so it is very a direct comparison where you're seeing James McAvoy's Paddy as this kind of almost rugged family man, a doctor living in the English countryside,
right?
Sleeping with his wife every single night, and then you directly compare that to Ben, who has someone who recently lost his job, living in London, but not in a well way, and his wife is not cheating on him but has been sexting someone else, and they are not having sex, and direct comparison. So I think James McAvoy definitely is not to sound cliche, but he is very much the alpha male not protagonist, but the alpha male character in this, and Ben is directly compared to him as being like this just completely opposite end of, well, not even opposite end, but you know what I mean, you just wouldn't, if they were to fight one-on-one, Paddy's coming out of that as the winner.
Well, I see this as a school bully realizing that the kid he's picked on his whole time in class is from a rich family, and he all of a sudden is starting to hang out with him, try to make him feel included, even if it looks apparent that he's overly intruding on making him fit in. Because James McAvoy is very touchy-feely. He's if he goes to give you a hug, he'll grab you he'll grip a set of your hair, and thrust you into him, and shove you away while he does it as well. That scene where the two of them are screaming, dude, chill for a second, okay? But that's one way you could see it. But yes, Mackenzie Davis playing Louise, she's the one who wears the pants in this family.
Yeah.
So, I had a few thoughts in the start of this movie. James McAvoy's putting up a facade to make good friends with Scootin' McNairy and his family, or with Ben and Louise, and he's trying to make them, he's trying to force it upon himself, like to the point where it's a little socially awkward, it's a little socially intrusive, and that's the whole theme of it, right? How to maintain politeness and not be rude in social situations, right? That's what this movie does a lot of. It just so happens
to the detriment of you.
Yeah, it just so happens that it's all a facade because there's a dark or foul play, mischievous element lurking in the background. And so, I don't think it's not realistic that you go spend a visit with a family that appears to be sound that you met on a holiday. I think that can be acceptable, especially for Americans who, in my experience, are very easygoing and chill compared to British people who seem like British and Irish. We seem to be like rigid and I don't know, and a little. They want to take their time to assess and determine whether they should do this because social settings. Leaving the comforts of your home, as this family does with Ben and Louise. They go to the farmhouse. They don't seem to be too warmed up to it. First Louise says, "Is that a stain?" Whereas Ben comes in, "No, it's an old stain." And so I viewed this as how an American couple would interact with a British couple, minus the evil, dark themes which are revealed in the third act. But just to circle back on James McAvoy, because I feel like I'm just waffling here on Wednesday, is that James McAvoy does such an incredible good job at putting on this fake nice best friend that he's as much as he appears to be deranged, he's still calculated. Because at the end of the day, he's got an ultimate goal, which appears to have a secondary goal, which we can get into soon. But yeah, I think we've established that James McAvoy, of course, he did a great job in it, and that it's James McAvoy and Mackenzie Davis, and I don't know why Scoot McNairy gets the and in it, but okay. I was
obsessed with Scoot McNairy.
No, it's only because I was curious to see what role he was going to play, because I knew she's the one who wears the pants. She's the one who's able to think in highly pressurized situations, in situations where it's life and death. She's able to remain calm and objective and have a grip of her emotions and find some form of control, whereas her husband, which should have been easily identified through various moments of foreshadowing, that in a situation of a sink or swim, he would sink because he lets his emotions get the better of him. He doesn't know what to do, how to handle the situation, how to get them out of this danger and get them to safety. And it's in comes in mommy to, metaphorically slap him in the face and force him to get a grip on himself and to think about the safety of their child. So, you said it yourself, he's compared to this appearance, this profile in that of James McAvoy's Paddy, that, dude, you're pathetic standing next to this guy. But but it's the cool school kid bully trying to befriend the dweeb nerd who essentially it's the dweeb nerd in that of Scoot McNairy. Ben, he's very he's not leading the conversation, if you know what I mean.
No. Yeah. I think with James McAvoy's character, like you said there, he's a bit bold and he's a bit brash and all. I think he definitely seems like even Paddy himself has really fine-tuned that character that he's playing, to entice, to make friends with Louise and Ben.
He's able to make himself. He's able to. He's fine-tuned the facade.
And he comes across as quite friendly, and yet there are some points where he'll just say something and you kind of like, they do have that moment where they might look at each other and they might go, that was kind of weird, but because you're in that social situation, you don't stop and you don't say, well, hold on a second now. It's not until much later on when it gets to be more and more,
so you're probably talking,
when they finally say it.
you're probably talking about when they see them again after the holiday. They're in their house and they prepared a duck, and Paddy feeds Louise duck in a way that I wouldn't want my partner to be fed duck by another person. And on the plus side, she established previously that she doesn't eat meat, and yet for the sake of being polite and not being rude, not only does Louise say, no, I'm a vegetarian, I don't eat meat, neither does Ben. Ben doesn't. It looked like he tried, and he was concerned, but he didn't. He doesn't have a pair of balls, you know. He doesn't have a pair of balls to step in to defend his wife, even if it means just, sorry, I know you went through all this hassle to prepare for this meal, but she doesn't eat that type of food. And yet, and there's another few times, this happens I think at least twice, where Paddy and his wife Kira, is it Kira? Kara?
Kira, yeah, no, Kira.
Kira. The two of them, when some information is passed on, like when they thought, hey, Paddy, you're a doctor, will you come check this out? And you can just see it, if you pay attention to James McAvoy's face in that wide shot. He's like, oh, yeah, sure, okay. Like, as if, what do you want my opinion for?
Why are you asking me? Yeah.
Yeah, because he said in his facade that he's a doctor, but he obviously forgotten, which is a difficulty some of these type of people would have. But then he realised the awkward situation that has now been caused. He tries to play it off as a joke, and he does a lot of those things, right? He plays a lot of things as a joke, whether it's something that he failed to maintain in his facade, such as that, or whether he lets his sanity become ungripped and he like reacts harshly. He starts being abusive to his wife or to his son, and so that he tries to pass it off as a joke, and it's like, no, don't worry, my old man was able to do a beating on me, and that was the way I learned, so he passes that off as, it's okay, it's fine, you know. And
what I really like about all that stuff, right, when he catches himself like that, where he realizes, oh shit, I said I was a doctor, right, okay, and he's able to play on the fact that he can take advantage of the social situation, you know. It doesn't have to make sense, what he says, but because it would be rude for Ben and Louise to say anything, they don't. He kind of has them clocked of like, no, they're too polite to say anything. They won't say anything. The both of them are more submissive. So if I just say this with confidence, like the fact that he has that whole scene where he says, oh no, I'm not a doctor, no, I just wanted to impress you guys and that, and kind of without missing a beat, him and Kira start laughing afterwards, and then just like, no, I'm joking, of course I'm a doctor, you know, and the other two laugh it off like, oh, haha, yeah, okay, and then immediately they just go to it and they just believe that it was a joke. But he's caught in that moment, you know, he doesn't let on like that because he's so confident in creating these social situations where it would be too rude to question him on it. You know, they're not going to turn around and say like, oh, can we actually see your medical degree or anything like that?
Yeah, he's a good liar. That's it. He hands down, he's just a great liar. And even when you think he's becoming unhinged and deranged, when his wife goes to town on him under the table, and that scene seems to be going on a little too long, to the point
it's now awkward for me watching it as well.
Yeah,
you know, and then they get up and oh, okay, haha, a bit of a funny laugh, a bit of a joke. But no, that's really weird. Like if you were out to dinner with someone and that started happening, you'd be like, what is she doing? Like, this is so weird. Like, but nobody calls it out to say it was weird. It's just, we're gonna laugh it off.
And if you were to see this movie again, really pay attention to James McAvoy's performance. Because sometimes the shot lingers on, or sometimes he's still in frame enough where if you just pay attention to him, look at how he delivers himself in passing off things as a joke or keeping up this facade. Like really, now he's the villain name, so he's not automatically going to stand out, but he really does in his performance.
I think that is actually to the movie's detriment. I think that he is so good that he makes Kira look weaker. I think that if it was the two of them and she had a bit more of a stronger performance of that they were equal partners in it, I think that he's given too much, like so much of the movie rests on him, so much of it rests on his shoulders, that I think that it would have just been nice to have a little bit more for her to do.
I see what you're coming from, and I'm not gonna say I agree, but I won't disagree. Like that's your opinion, and the reason I don't think that is because I think there was enough scenes of her where she builds upon his facade, where she contributes to it as a woman, as a younger woman, as apparent wife, as the apparent mother, and that she has her own few moments where she becomes unhinged, such as the dinner table, where she starts telling Ben and Louise's daughter to close her mouth when she chews, and so, you know, that was the standout scene of her becoming crazy, you know, because then the social situation has arisen again, and that so
yeah, and it's after they found out that she has had a miscarriage, and they were supposed, or no, not a miscarriage, sorry, they had a child that died at 12 weeks, and so kind of after that, then initially those scenes where she is wanting to spend time with Agnes and is parenting her a little bit, in like, to begin with, they kind of brush it off, like they don't say anything, and then it's not until maybe it happens 2 or 3 times within the scene that Louise is like, sorry, can you not actually parent my daughter? Do you know, it's initially brushed off of, like, once again, that socially awkward thing of like, oh, I don't want to be rude, I don't want to say anything, but you know what I'm trying to say.
No. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath, and let me tell me your feet. No, it's okay. I don't know what I'm waffling on there, but what I want to say there is that James McAvoy is Paddy. He doesn't let it die down, because why would he? He continues on. He gets his wife Kira to apologise, but then he goes to get to Louise to apologise as well, and because what's he got to lose? You know, he's doing this all intentionally.
He also then creates a situation afterward to where Louise would tell them how to parent, and he's like, well, hold on a minute now, because you just said that we, like, don't parent each other's kids. He manufactures a situation where he's trying to point the finger back at them and say, hold on, you can't say this about me. He's trying to put them on an equal footing, you know, because that's his whole motivation. He's deranged. Well, he's not. Yeah, you know, he is deranged. I don't know why I was going to say he wasn't deranged. He is deranged in when he says, like, why you do, you know, they ask why you doing this, and it's like, because you look down on us, you know, you think yous are all great living in London and all, you look down on us. But at no point really did our main characters, Ben and Louise, ever look down on them. They got on with them on holiday, they enjoyed their company, and then when they were invited down, they went down, you know, to visit them. Now, to be fair, Louise did kind of look down on them in terms of, it's not her style, like you said there, when she flips the bed covers and, oh, is that a stain? And Ben's like, oh no, it's an old stain. These are just like quirks of a house, quirks of an old house, and the furniture and the linens and that kind of stuff. Like, these are normal things for the likes of, say, Paddy and Kira, but for Ben and Louise, it's not. But they've never looked down or actively said, like, we're better than them or anything like that. They're people of different social groups, and I think that's where his derangedness comes from, is assuming that everyone is looking down on him, rather than he's just applying it to Ben and Louise when it doesn't fit them.
I wanted to ask you what you thought about the cinematography.
Cinematography. I thought it was pretty like, I didn't think much of it, or didn't, like, stand out to me or anything like that. Why? Was there anything in particular that stood out to you, like, for that?
Yeah, all of it. Or at least from the countryside onwards. So when Ben and Louise arrive at the cottage, for some strange reason, I thought the cinematography just stood out. I'm not a cinematographer, I'm not a photographer. So I'm not going to fall on the trap of failing to explain what I thought the cinematography was and how it stood out to me. But I thought it was something to do with the colour grade. I thought it was something to do with the exterior shots, such as when they're driving to the cottage restaurant. I thought...
Yeah, I did. Those were some good shots, actually, now that you say that, yeah, when they're going to the restaurant, yeah.
But that's just this is just an example. I thought the entire film's appearance just looked great. As a psychological horror, it stood out. The cinematography stood out. And that was just a note I wanted to say. Like, I can't explain it. Yeah, it looks good. yeah, I like the way how that looks blue in that particular color. Yeah, I'm not gonna
Yeah,
do that.
yeah.
You
No.
know, I am not a cinematographer, but that's a shout out I'm going to give it.
Yeah, you wanted to give it that it looked great. Do you want to jump into some flashbacks before we go any further?
Yeah, because where we go further, we should just get into the third act and the reveal.
The third act, yeah, absolutely, I think so. Laura, play that jingle first. Thank you, Laura. Some short flashbacks today, nothing too crazy. Did you know that this is a remake of a 2022 Danish-Dutch film of the same name?
No.
It is, yes. It's the fact that it's 2022 is surprising. That's so quick in terms of a turnaround. Because I know that this film was filmed last year, pretty much right up until the strikes, the actor strikes, and so I think they were like a week away from being finished, and then they had to come back earlier this year. So like realistically, it was released in 2022 and then shot in 2023 for the English version. It's a very quick turnaround.
I think anyone reviewing or analysing this movie, I think you should get a reward for not bringing up the fact that this is a remake. But I think the turnaround part is interesting. The fast track that this is being remade, like, because you have to factor in all the rights issues. You have to factor in the traditional general 2-year wait in process that it takes to make a film. We believe that these people are professionals, so they were able to shoot this in a span of 2 months, maybe 3 months. So the rest of the time was in pre-production development, locations, logistics, and rights. And then of course the post-production, which would be a lengthy process. But yeah, funny enough, this does not want me to seek out the original for a particular reason, and I don't know if that particular reason is going to be in one of your next flashbacks, but I believe the ending in this movie differs from the ending in the original.
Okay, interesting. I did not know that. That's not one of my flashbacks anyway, so you're safe to voice that opinion.
Well, let me just continue on that opinion then.
Yeah.
The original, it's not a traditional American conclusion. Based on what this story is and what the villains are actually up to, I don't know if the original movie, the Danish movie, ends in a way that leaves you satisfied.
Yeah, okay.
What I'm trying to say is I think this movie ends cleaner than the original.
Other one. Yeah.
And so I don't think I want to become aware of whatever potential disturbing features that original movie has. I'm going to elaborate on it later as per my notes, but that's not the type of horror movies I want to be watching.
That's fair enough. I think after watching it, I actually want to go back and rewatch watch for the first time the original. So I'll let you know if it's a happy ending or not. But speaking of not watching the original, James McAvoy actually didn't watch the original until after they had finished filming this version. He didn't want the portrayal of his equivalent, I don't know what the character's name was, he didn't want it to influence his interpretation of the character.
Yeah, I watched an interview of him in Happy, Sad, Confused, where he discussed about this and how he actually talks very positively about remakes, and that movies should be remade all the time because each time they are remade, they're told through a different version, interpreted by different creators. And so he's not going to watch something and think, oh, well, we can do it better, or oh, well, maybe we won't be able to execute this to the standard
or maybe
that the original is able to.
Yeah. The actor might do something and then he's like, okay, I want to put that in, or I want to take on that attribute or something like that. So I'm glad that he was able to do it himself, but then I'm glad that he, as soon as he was finished, he's like, okay, finally I can watch this movie. He's been putting it off. I think my flashback there is that he watched it 24 hours after filming. Within 24 hours after filming. So he must have got home after a day and it's like, right, let's see how this was done.
Do you know what that is, David?
That's commitment.
No, David. No.
Tell me.
I'll
What
tell
is
you.
it?
Alright? Just so you know, you're upside down based on what I have my phone set to.
Oh yeah, I have you upside down. This entire episode is the two of us just talking upside down. I don't know how the blood's not going to your head, man.
James McAvoy watching the original movie after filming this version is me completing my dissertation successfully and then being rewarded with the option to go back in time to tell my past self how to do it.
Yeah.
But I am not the one who gets to be informed of that information by my future self because I had already done it. So I don't need to be told how to do it. Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, he's like, yeah, that he gets to see it after the fact and go, okay, that's how it was originally done. But you don't need to then take what you've learned and apply that. You just get to know. Okay, it's good to know. It was good to know that.
It's being rewarded after hard work. That's what I think it is.
Absolutely. And then flashback number 3, the story was actually inspired by an experience that the original director Christian Taftrup had when he befriended a Dutch couple on a holiday in Tuscany with his wife. Although the Dutch were a bit socially awkward, both couples got along very well, and after returning home, Taftrup received an invitation from the Dutch family to come over to the Netherlands. He briefly considered it, but decided it would feel odd staying with people he didn't really know. And then obviously the film then came from, what would happen if I did go over? And he developed it there. And he has said that the couple were actually very nice, and he's definitely sure that they don't abduct kids, as far as he knows.
Nice.
And that brings it into our flashback section. Laura, play us out of here. Thank you, Laura. So we want to go into the third act, the kind of after the veil has been dropped and we know what's going on. I have to say, before we get into this, I was really actually genuinely worried about this, because when they're about to leave, they're about to drive out the gate, and Paddy throws Ant into the water, and Ben stops the car and gets out and saves him. When he pulls him out of the water and brings him over to the shoreline, and Paddy and Kira bring the two girls over, and he's just got a gun in his hand, I was like, oh no, don't turn into this. And then the next scene is them in the garage, and I'm like, I was just like, I don't want to see this movie. I like the movie that we had. I wanted to see that movie. I just felt like that the movie was going to all of a sudden turn into something else. So I'm glad that that scene was very, very limited, and then all of a sudden it became them stuck in the house and the other three, the guy in the restaurant, Kira and Paddy, the three of them trying to get in and them having to, evade them. So I was glad that it eventually became that and not what I thought it was going to be, which was a simple well, now I have a gun, so watch out,
So then what did you make of the fact that he's forcing Louise to make a bank transfer to his accounts?
That I didn't. Well? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I just didn't want it to be like, oh right, okay, this is, because I liked the idea of it being, in my head I had it as something a bit different. In my head, I thought the film was going to be more that your man Ant was just kind of a weird kid, and he was going to, that these scenarios. What I thought was going to happen initially was that there was actually going to be nothing wrong, that it was just that the kid was a bit weird, and that these socially awkward scenarios, that's all they were. That's all they were going to be, were socially awkward scenarios, and maybe something sinister was going on, but it wasn't. I didn't want it to be as Hollywood as that. Give me all your money, and this was a robbery the entire time. So I was afraid of that, and yeah, when they pulled out the thing, when he pulled out the gun, I think it was the introduction of the gun. I just didn't like the gun. I don't like. It was just too American, having the handgun. When they arrive and your man comes out and he's got the shotgun, the farmer's shotgun and all. That's absolutely fine. I think that fits the aesthetic. But just all of a sudden having a handgun just took it down a notch for me. I don't know.
I think you've elaborated your thoughts very well, David.
But I don't mean to say that the third act was bad, because once then they got back into the house and they were using the knives, and your man getting up onto the roof and attacking him with the hammer and stuff like that. I was like, okay, no, this is all fine. You're gone back to that kind of an invasion of the house. and it's not their house, so they don't know it as well. And I thought that was interesting, and I like that. And even when he threw the Molotov cocktail off the roof, and okay, we'll set the roof on fire, but then it just bounces off and into the car. I was like, okay, that's funny, you know, like that Ben. It goes back to that whole thing we were saying about how he's like not an alpha male. Like, he knows how to make a Molotov cocktail, fair enough, but he doesn't realize you have to throw it as hard as possible to have the glass smash, otherwise it's going to bounce off and roll off. Like, you just need to know certain things, and he has maybe ever only seen a Molotov cocktail in a movie where someone has lobbed it and it of course breaks, but not when it's 5 feet away from a thatched roof.
Well, yeah, it's not a movie.
What's he thinking? It's not a movie.
So after all that information you've just gave me, I think what you were hoping that this movie was not going to be, you didn't want the rest of the world to be brought into this secluded, isolated horror story about these limited characters. Because when you bring a gun into it, you're bringing American ideology and politics into it, and you're bringing in something that if you swapped it with a 6-bullet pea shooter, maybe that would have been more accepted. Or maybe if you swapped it with I don't know, with something else. See, what I'm trying to say is, you said the farmer's gun would have been socially acceptable to maintain what you had expected for this movie. See, you don't...
Or they had the rifle earlier as well when they were out hunting. That's absolutely fine. But it's pulling out a random gun. And you're right, it's introducing the wider world to it. Like, and when they do that whole the bank transfer thing, and then he immediately turns off the Wi-Fi, I'm like, all right, okay, yeah, but now I feel like we're just going to go and... they just need to get to the phone and call the police, and the police will come and save it. And yeah, they do knock out those things, but you're right. I think that what I was looking for is what you said. Is I wanted the story to be contained within all these characters. Even having that the other guy that was working in the restaurant, having him come back and he's in on it as well. That was enough. I don't need anyone else.
Yeah,
and I was afraid that they were going to bring in a whole other aspect to it that I didn't want.
Essentially, you don't want to be reminded that Ben and Louise have an apartment in the city, and that they've gone on an expensive holiday with various other tourists and people. The fact that there's a whole world outside this farm, and that if they just had their cell phones with them and had signal, that then this situation is over within 5 minutes. The fact that if you really just call the nearby police, that they come down, well, they just shut everything down there. That is the fact that this third act did not have access to the wider world. That is what you wanted from this movie. You know, it's like to elaborate using a different example. You do not want Pennywise to be going around New York City to doing everything he does with millions of witnesses and victims when you can just bring in the army and a whole load of bomb squads to execute him. Do you know
Too
what I mean?
many easy solutions then,
Yeah, so this third act was maintained and concluded. I hope I didn't ramble too much, but I really did want to build upon what you felt.
No, you gave me the answer I was looking for. I couldn't actually articulate what was I afraid of, but it was that, it was bringing the world into this small story.
So, what did you take of the reveal then? That the fact that Ant is a victim imprisoned by Paddy and Kira, because what they are doing to Ben and Louise, they have done to multiple other couples, and have introduced a fake child as their son or daughter, and when they kill the couple they invite, they kill the child they own or have enslaved and imprisoned and tortured, and they keep the next one, and on that cycle goes. And I never thought to myself, Ant is not their son, 100%. I never thought that. Just like I would never normally think about in any given whodunit mystery thriller, he's the killer or she's the killer. Them two, they're the killer. They're the ones who killed that person in this whodunit mystery. I generally don't think about that and if I do, it's because the movie's not as captivating. So the fact that I was able to be engaged with this story, with all the socially awkwardness throughout, by good performances and interesting mysteries of what's really going on here. I didn't actually think he's a kid from a different family, and well, yeah, I never thought about that. But I tell you this, they dropped the jaw.
It's interesting because the whole aspect of it being like socially awkward and no one wanting to be rude and everyone wanting to be polite, like until
it can cost you your life.
Until Ant takes Agnes down into that cellar and then we find out what's going on. There was at no point before that where I had even thought that was a possibility, or like I was like I wonder, like it kept me on my toes of like I wonder what is going to be the, like, what is wrong, you know, what are we going to find out that, oh shit, it is this, you know. And I think that those socially awkward interactions and those conversations are so good and they're so engaging that even though it's revealed what happened quite late or what's going on quite late, I never felt like that was a weakness, you know, that I was like, it was more so I can't wait to find out what's going on, as opposed to what's going on, come on, tell me. And yeah, you're right, I didn't, the only clue I had to that was when he tries to give her the note and it's clearly in like German or wherever he's from, because obviously he was robbed from a different family. But even when they're playing hide and seek and he takes out the watch and like points at the back of the watch, I didn't put two and two together that was what was going on, or even that wasn't his watch or anything like that. Like obviously because I don't speak, I think it might have been German. I don't speak German, so I couldn't read what was on the back of the watch or what was on the note. But yeah, no, I thought that it was yeah, you're right, it was jaw dropping. It was like, oh shit, and they've been getting away with this and they cut out your man's tongue. I was like, this is crazy.
Your man is a child.
The kid, the child's tongue, yes.
I thought, give me a second, David, because I wrote this down and I'm very proud of it. I never thought that they weren't really his parents, because I tend not to think about those things. But maximizing the time of the awkwardness and the anxiety-inducing situations, I think ensuring that the third act conclusion was not done in a matter of 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I could be way off, but it feels like the third act was at least half an hour.
Yeah, I'd say half an hour, 25 minutes easily. Yeah. And when you're saying third act, we're talking
when he throws him in the lake.
When he throws him in the lake, yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, no, 25 minutes easily.
Yeah, because you spend so much time savoring. That's it. Dyslexia. Savoring the oh so good scenes of James McAvoy making you feel awkward and you not wanting to be rude. That the strategic execution, the timely strategically executed third act was a reward, because you know you want a bit of action in that conclusion. You want to learn a few more things. You want to see how Ben and Louise can cope and manage this situation and survive. And I was happy with that. You had a fear that the wider world was going to be interrupting this third act showdown. I had a fear that this was going to be done in a unceremoniously non-satisfying manner.
Yeah, too quick or something.
And too disturbing. Like the fact that they cut out Ant's tongue. Limit yourself there. You know, limit yourself at the idea that when they kill Ant and throw him in the lake in which his parents are in, that they're going to do the same with their daughter. And great thinking with her faking having her period to get her mother alone.
Yeah, that was really smart.
That was clever. And then the fact that Louise is able to put on a facade herself to not look like everything's out of control, and then bring in her husband Ben, and so they have to just they're using this as an excuse to leave, and now all of them are informed of the reveal. All of them are informed that murders and horrific acts towards children is being done by this deranged couple, that they have to leave. And while they're walking all the way out, trying to give their fake explanation as to why they need to leave, knowing that, well, James McAvoy has seen that the leaves has been moved from his trap door, so he knows they're onto him. You know that something is going to happen to prevent them from leaving. Yeah. Nope, it's not the flat tire. They have a flat tire in the car. James McAvoy, Paddy, come, big bro in him. Hey, come on, I can pump that up in a jiffy. And he brings Ben all the way around the barn. And that is the first time I thought to myself, oh shit, if Paddy just drops the facade now and starts to jump him, Ben is shit out of luck. But he doesn't.
It's such an interesting scene because you're right. Sorry to interrupt you, but from then on, all the characters know what's going on.
Yeah.
But the only thing now, Paddy and Kira are at the disadvantage. They don't know how much do they know, and is that going to be real? Because that tire, when the tire is flat, it's like, all right, okay, he's going to get him here. But no, he bumps up the tire. Like that was the perfect opportunity to get Ben, and to get the other two. But they pump up the tire, and then it's not to the next thing.
The Teddy on the
Teddy on the roof. It's like, did you pop his tire just to set it up, just so you could play with them? Like I think that's what he is doing, because he says earlier when they're hunting the fox, what he loves to do, what Paddy loves to do, is play with his prey. He loves the hunt. He doesn't care so much about the kill. He loves messing with them and playing with them, and that is absolutely that. The fact that he's looking at us like, oh, are you forgetting something? It's Hoppy up at the thing. It's like, oh, how did that get up there? It's like, how did it get up there? I wonder. Yeah, you fucking put it up there, Paddy.
And I like that he not only is their daughter accepting the fact, I just want to go. They tried to leave already and they forgot Hoppy, and so they had to go back. And the fact that now that her daughter has faced the realities and facts of life, that she's in the presence of genocidal maniacs, she's okay to leave Hoppy where he is. But he sends Ben up to fetch it. Your arms are longer, mate. You go up there, and it's just a perfect opportunity to just throw the ladder.
I genuinely thought that was the end of Ben. I was like, that. Yeah, no, that's him done.
But then he gets Hoppy. They go down, and you see Paddy going to reach for his gun, right? But
yeah, he's got it in his back pocket.
In comes in Louise with putting her big pants on, or putting some thinking in her noggin. Tell them a bit of truth to keep up with their lies. That she admits to the problems they've been having with their marriage, and that they're getting a divorce. And that's always I've seen that in a few things before, that when you're in a situation where you need to lie to get out of danger,
put a bit of truth in there.
Get a bit of truth in there to convince them. And they actually did convince them, like to a certain degree, because Paddy fully believed in their conversation. It's not going to stop him from doing what he's going to do. And the next awkward thing, the fact that Ben and Louise know the particular situation that Ant is in. I like that Ben told Ant to go open the gate, because if Ant was going to go to the gate, they were going to snatch him and get him out of there. But he's the buzzer, and no need, buddy. And so there's the fact that Ant is able to hold his ground emotionally, and he's probably with Paddy and Kira for, let's say, a year. So he's able to suppress his emotions and reactions and not to panically jump into the car just by walking past them. But the fact that they weren't going to leave him, and when he is thrown in the lake because he can't swim, I like that Ben didn't hesitate to save him. Ben might not be brave in leading charge to get his family out of danger, but you know what he is? He's willing to do the right thing, and he's willing to die for it as well. I fully believe that Ben is the one to sacrifice himself in an instant.
He did, and he does as well later on. He's the one that jumps down. He ends up twisting his ankle, but it's to save everyone else, is to get that ladder.
Yeah, and he doesn't hesitate either. He just sees her on the
doesn't.
roof and he has to go down. He just goes down, no bother. He will die for his family. He might not be able to lead a brave charge. That's for Louise, but Ben, you know, he's made out to be a bit of a dick to his family. He just seems to like not really like his family because he's trying to force his daughter to give up Hoppy and to you know, to sleep on her own. But no, he is good. But do you know what I really liked in this, particularly this third act?
Tell me.
You know, I like when the adrenaline starts going because these are very bad people, as established. I like it when the heroes get one up on them. That Louise had the knife and she slashed Paddy's face, and I really did say to myself in my inner voice, yeah,
You deserve that. Yeah.
no,
Girl.
I'm trying not to curse, but I really did say, yeah, fuck you.
Okay.
But in that situation that they were able to get up and leave and lock them in there, did you remember what Kira said?
Oh, did she say that I was his first victim? Help me. See, that's why I wanted a bit more from her. It was because, like, oh, is she telling the truth or not? Like, I genuinely didn't believe her. But, yeah, I just wanted more of her, like, if she had played a bit more of a victim or had been a bit more maniacal or anything like that. I wanted a clear answer on that. Was she his first victim? And I don't think so. I think she was lying. I think she was lying.
I'm on the other side of that fence.
Oh, you think that she was?
Oh yeah, I fully believe that. However this started, whether James McAvoy was alone in it or not, that whoever Kira was with, that she would end up being imprisoned by Paddy. She was his first. I like the fact that is the first thing she says when they're at a disadvantage. She says that to Louise, pleading and begging. And then she's trying to open the door, and then Paddy, you know, pulls her away, slaps her, says this is your fault, and then she punches him back as if she's been taken and beaten. Like for every 20 hits she receives from Paddy, she hits one back at him, and Paddy will brush it off as yeah, whatever. But
I don't know though. I disagree because I think that once they're in that whole situation, where they're trying to get into the house, I think that she has ample opportunity to turn on him. I think that now is the time to turn on him. If she was for real.
But that's what happens when you're imprisoned with this man for so long. No, I fully believe she was his first victim, and he's kept her for so long. He's able to manipulate her and convince her to go along with this facade, with this lifestyle, that she actually believes in this, and that she was so young when she was a victim to him. She occasionally wants a child, which is what introduces the whole situations where they seek out to kidnap children as a bonus from his ultimate goal, which is to steal people's money and kill them. It's a bonus for him because at the end of the day he is deranged and he does has mommy and daddy issues, whereas she was so young. She thinks that being a mother implies that you have to do the surface level things to tell your kid to eat with your mouth closed and to be respectful. So these things that she was being, which showcased her potential unhinged mentality, I think contributes to the fact that she was young when she was in prison. Maybe not as young as their daughter, but young enough to be a teenager, that she's now grown up with James McAvoy, that now she has a certain understanding of what a mother has to be, and that what a family is, and that how it never works out, well then they just keep going to the next one and to the next one, and that when the child is defiant, she'll lash out and beat them, because that's the split personality of her thinking comes into effect from James McAvoy's torment on her. But the fact that she's a partner, that she's, you know, the woman in the man and woman relationship, that I think that she believes in this shit, which is why I think for every 20 hits he gives her, she gets one back, because that's the sort of it's obviously an imbalance, but that's the type of relationship that she's not a dog cowering in the corner for every all the time. Like she has an understanding in this life, and that's why I believe she doesn't turn on him in the roof or in the bathroom, that she comes to his rescue, because she's in on it as well, because that's how she's been raised in it. Do you want to know an example of this waffling I'm giving? Reek, Theon Greyjoy to Ramsay Bolton.
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, no, that's a good comparison. I will give you the fact that I actually forgot about this aspect, and I think it lends to what you're saying there. They do make the comment about how they've been together 17 years, and they're like, how old would she have been there? Like, because she doesn't seem like she's, she is the younger one in that relationship. So I think, in fairness, with what you said there, and with my remembering of that line, yeah, you might be right that she is a victim, definitely.
Happy to convince a fellow podcaster.
Hey, listen, come here. Look, when you make good points, you make good points. I'm pretty happy with our discussion on that. Do you have any final points that you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, I'm not done. How did you think about their conclusions?
Oh, sorry. I think that
I like how that Louise not only saves Ben by smashing a hammer through the guy's head, the guy who owned the restaurant, she saves him, but she also whacks Kira off the roof as well. And I actually didn't really believe that she died at first, but yeah, I believe she was dead. And then of course the final
blow.
Yeah. With James McAvoy coming in. I have to believe that it's a nuisance for him to take on this challenge of keeping a kid and having the kid pose as his child to continue his con artist scam to keep up the facade, whereas it was her who wanted the kid. That's what he said. She wanted the child. So he sort of put like two and two together, well, it can work in my favour.
We can do both of these, yeah.
That, plus the fact that he grew up in a troublesome childhood with his father and maybe his mother, as clearly briefly mentioned throughout, I think all those contributing factors made it so why James McAvoy was never hesitant to not keep a kid after they're done with them. That even after he's seen Kira is dead, that, well, what does he say? That I'll look after her, but she'll look after me too. Essentially making a new Kira. And so, good thinking on their daughter to jab him with the drug that numbs him, paralyzes him, and great. Now they can make their escape. But you knew what was coming next, don't you? You knew that Ant was going to walk away without getting something.
I actually did think that they were going to walk away. I thought that he was going to be left there, and that's when the police would come. They had seen the fireball from the car, but I did like the satisfying end that Ant got the final blow, the final, you cut out my tongue, you're going to die for this. You killed my parents, you're going to die for this.
I think the first thing is the parents, and then the years of torment, and then the tongue part. But I'm so satisfied that they didn't make it so that Ant jumped in front of gunfire, sacrificing himself.
Yeah.
I like because even though he's not bad. He's a tormented prisoner. But if he was a child if he was actually their child who grew up, who was raised by Paddy and Kira to do the things that they are doing, even though he might know they're wrong, and in this movie he would see that those things are wrong, well then his redemption would be to sacrifice himself. But that's not this movie, and that's not his character, and that's not what they did, and I'm glad that this movie ended with Ben and Louise and their daughter, who we've just been calling her daughter throughout the movie because I just don't know her name, even though I have Wikipedia
Agnes, is it?
Open. Agnes, yeah. I've had Wikipedia open in front of me the whole time. I've just called them her daughter. So the three of them and Ant drive away, and they mirror the same shot at the end as they did with the opening, with Ant in the rear view mirror.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that we know everything now compared to the first shot, because we didn't know a thing. I just like that juxtaposition, and I like that Agnes gives Aunt Hoppy to hug, and it makes I don't know, gives a warm feeling in my heart that good people like Ben and Louise they won't be quick to give Ant over to the police.
They'll look after him. He's part of the family now.
Well, I'm not saying that they'd, adopt him or anything, but, because surely he would have, I don't know, an aunt or an uncle or grandparents out there somewhere.
Someone looking for him, yeah.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is that they won't be quick to say goodbye, you know? And there's something else I wanted to say about this movie, David. Generally, psychological, thriller, horrors, there's 3 types of endings in them. An ending where it doesn't look good with our protagonist. An ending where it does, but have major ramifications. And then the third one is where it does look good for our protagonist and everything is relatively okay. That's this one. That I would have rated this movie lower if it ended with either Ben or Ant dying. I don't want that. Not this story. They can get a divorce if they want, but this movie's gotta end happy for them.
Yeah,
a horror-based movie that ends well for the protagonist but has major ramifications would be Evil Dead Rise. Because the aunt and the little girl get away, but their mother is dead, and the other 2 children, they're dead, and they're still facing the unemployed, homeless, no money situation. Oh, and she's pregnant. That's
not all sunshine and daisies right after. There's still life. There's still the problems that come with it. Yeah.
So I don't mind some of them endings as well, because the plot of the movie doesn't need to ensure that. But this movie ends satisfyingly, and movies are experiential events, and I experienced a 4-star rating of this movie.
Good. I'm glad. It was enjoyable, and I look forward to seeing it again. Have you got a recommendation before we let these people go?
I do have a recommendation, David, but do you have a recommendation for
I do.
these folks?
Really quick one. And another film that I watched actually this week that was very, very, very spooky. It's called Longlegs. And when I say that it's been very rare that a horror film will stick with me, but I found myself like kind of a couple of days afterwards just thinking back on it, and I'm like, oh, that was scary. Like I kind of want to watch it again to scare myself again, and re-experience it, because I've been thinking about it a lot the last week or so. So I'd recommend that, Longlegs.
That's a good recommendation, David. I've seen the movie. I enjoyed it. I wished it was better, but I appreciate a good Nicolas Cage performance. But my recommendation this week is, if not for anyone, it's just for you. I need you to watch Arcane, because I really want to talk about it, because season 1 is out on Netflix, season 2 is coming out in November, and that's it. It's just going to be a 2-season show, and I don't need to go into what it's about, other than the animation is lovely and it tells a very good story with drama and tragedy, and tugs at the heart and the emotions. All I'll say is that it's about 2 sisters and they don't get along.
I'll make a promise to you then, Brian. I will watch Arcane. Yeah, that's the promise. I don't know where I was going with that. Yeah, I'll watch Arcane for you. I'll watch it in time for is Netflix going to release all the episodes at once?
They release season 1 3 episodes a week, as in 3 episodes a day. A week later, another 3 episodes a week later. The last 3 episodes. I even watched. I played a bit of a funny game where I watched episode 1, 2, and 3 over the span of 3 weeks, and I watched episodes 4, 5, and 6 over the span of 3 days, and episodes 7, 8, 9 in a single day. So I don't know if they're going to release all the episodes at once or if they'll spread them throughout, but once I know, I really would like to add it to a calendar, because I just want to express myself with this show.
That's fair. I'll make time for that so that we can discuss that, absolutely. Thank you so much, Brian, for joining me for this episode of the podcast. Thank you, dear listener, for making our way through this. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you're subscribed to us on your podcasting app of choice, whether that be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podcast Addict. We're available on YouTube as well if you're listening to us on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. Make sure that you're following us on all of our social medias that can be found in the description down below, being Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Letterboxd, TikTok, absolutely everywhere you could think to find us, we are there. New episodes every single Wednesday, as well as bonus episodes every other weekend, so make sure that you're tuned in, listening, and we look forward to talking to you again. Brian, any final words?
No?
If it hadn't been forgotten, I do.
I don't know the lyrics to all songs in existence.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, David.